So a scrap between the government parties over the future of light rail. So a week or so back, light rail was put on hold but not cancelled. This was the project, remember, promised by Jacinda Ardern, her first major promise as Labor leader, and it would be up and running by next year. None of that's happening. The government said they were highly motivated, though, to keep the project moving, but Winston Peters turns out not so keen, and he is with us. Very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Is it just the cost and the blowout of, or the whole idea?
Well, the fact is that the announcement of it being put on hold has already been made. All I was doing was confirming that there has been a blowout in terms of the cost. We all know that. And that to be realistic in this time of COVID-19 and all the things we must do, that it's not on our radar at the moment. I'll talk about myself and New Zealand first.
And so, therefore, if they came to you tomorrow and said, look, let's get this back up and running because it's a few jobs and it's a good idea, you'd say, forget it, we've got more important things to do.
Precisely.
Like what?
Well, like getting the insurance for tens of thousands of businesses and hundreds of thousands of workers, that we can get back to normalcy as fast as possible. And projects that do that need to be sustained and supported now. And projects that may defer that until 2 or 3 or 4 years should be put aside for the moment.
Did light rail ever make any sense at all, trundling down Dominion Road slowly towards the airport with about 800 stops?
You know full well that I've said so from the beginning that didn't make sense. But, you know, we live in an environment where you've got to go into arrangements. But you're asking for my party's personal view, my view, and we're only 4 months away from the election. No, it doesn't make sense.
And if you've got anything to say post-September, it will never see the light of day.
Well, what are you trying to do? Lead me by the nose down the pathway to common sense? We speak common sense with the greatest respect, and that's why I'm saying to you.
The extra public holiday that was floated the other day that you didn't seem keen on, is that on or off? Well,
as far as we're concerned, it's off. At this present time, we've been in compulsory lockdown for far too long. People know that they want to be out there and working. Everybody who's got their heart on their own future and the country's future and their family's future realizes there's only one way out of this. It's to think smart and work harder, and there's no other recipe. So a day off, when we've had weeks off, it's just not the right thing to be promoting as we speak.
Are we in two for too long? I mean, another month before we even consider level one, given the numbers we're seeing. Is that too long, too conservative?
Well, my party made it very clear that we thought that. And the Prime Minister has actually admitted that at the Cabinet meeting. She said it. There was serious concern from New Zealand First that this was taking too long and we should have got out of this into a better space as fast as possible. And the reason why is because every day and every hour and every week we delay, we put back our recovery.
Exactly. I'm looking at businesses who are open, but they're not making a living, and that's got to concern every single one of us. Does that concern everyone in Cabinet, or are they all listening to Ashley too much?
Well, we made it very clear with respect to the medical advice. You have to listen to people who are expert in their field. But we brought into this country or took out of this country over 130,000 people during the lockdowns, and we did not imperil the New Zealand health system or do I say the economy. We did it because it had to be done. New Zealanders wanted to come home, and people had to be taken home from New Zealand. Now, our point is that we've, I think, been too cautious for too long now. We've got to look at percentages and say, are we 98%, 99% safe? Well, if we are, we've got to risk it and get going because far more people, dramatically more people, are going to die. And I think New Zealanders need to understand this. Are going to die for circumstances to do with their depression and concern about the state of their personal finances, about their family finances, about the despair and hopelessness that comes from when people cannot see a way out. And hope is what we've got to make real in this country. And then you've got to look at the medical system as well as other things that are going on in the country and say, well, what is now the number one enemy we've got? Look with new eyes and fresh eyes and eyes wide open. What's the enemy we've got now? The enemy we've got now is not COVID-19. It is actually the inability to turn this economy around with the speed we should be doing and as fast as possible. It has serious social fallout consequences.
Couldn't agree more. Should we be in one right now?
Yes, I believe so. And we should be in the Trans-Tasman bubble right now.
Why aren't you doing more? Why aren't you doing more then, as the Deputy Prime Minister?
because people like you made sure I didn't have enough influence on any government at the last election. Maybe this time you'll get your head wised up and do a bit more about it.
Appreciate your time, Winston Peters, Deputy Prime Minister.